I swear getting that timing right is going to be the end of me. Anyways, hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet and of YouTube. Welcome to Final Fantasy Chronicles of Ino with me, your host and game master, as always, Skajarmas, otherwise known as Toneshift. And with me today, of course, our awesome cast of players highlighted in that intro video that I am still very proud of, even though it was a colossal migraine to make. We have Hades Shadow 92 playing Thanatos, the human Dark Knight.
Otherwise known as the punching bag / comic relief of the group, apparently.
You kind of brought it on yourself. We've been over this already. We have Luminous Starlight playing Rocket the Chocobo.
Hey!
Ow, my ears. We have
Our
Darkness
mascot.
playing Alistair, who I had to just spend the last 30 minutes before we started playing fixing the character sheet of, because somehow he managed to completely and utterly obliterate it.
I blame WordPad.
Probably had something to do with it. And lastly, we have Tom117Z playing our Elvon Ranger Neothil.
Bad workman blames his tools.
Well, sometimes software can legitimately fuck up without much explanation, so there is the rare circumstance where you can actually blame your tools when working with computer shit.
Yep. It happened with my drawing tablet and program.
Yep. All right, so it's been like 3 weeks since our last session for us. I know that with how things are uploaded to YouTube, like that doesn't really transfer well because each session is like cut into 3 parts each or so, but so usually 2, but I digress. So if there are any gaps in my recap, why don't you guys fill it in for me, would you please? Any important shit I might miss. But yes, where we last left off, our adventuring party of interesting misfits were making their way to the large capital city of Linsalem, Endlum, a great mechanical city with a bunch of airships, basically the height and pinnacle of technological innovation and magic-technical research in all of the known world and on the first, in continent. Their trip there was briefly disrupted over the Amber Coast by an Amber Ahriman and a collection of imps, but nothing they couldn't handle, and soon enough the party arrived in the great capital city itself, whereupon they were swiftly detained by local security because of Rocket's heavily illegal modifications. However, due to some vouching from Sid and the stories you gave to the local captain, whose name I am immediately forgetting off the top of my head because I am a dipshit, Captain Philip. There we go, I have it written down here, thankfully.
Philip.
Thanks to the information you gave to Philip, the recounting of your story, he was willing to give you all a chance, but first of all, he needed to make his calls, do some research, ask around, essentially, and investigate the matter himself before he could commit himself to trusting your word. And while he conducted that investigation, you were all essentially placed under a form of rudimentary house arrest within the confines of Endlum's central castle.
Just not in a house, in a cell.
Yeah. I mean, you were still allowed to move throughout the castle, just, you couldn't leave your rooms without an escort to keep an eye on you, etc., etc.
Let's say we all pretty much got rooms and they just stuck Rocket in the cell.
I mean, she is currently the subject matter. The reason you are all chucked in rooms to begin with, so... At the risk of sounding kind of malicious, you hear that, Rocket? This is your fault!
That's so mean.
I know, and I don't mean it.
I could never blame her.
I don't mean it. Anyways. Okay. So, is there anything important that I am missing from that?
It is impossible to be mad at Rocket.
I think you got all the important stuff down.
Alrighty then. If that be
And
the
my
case,
sheet is now normal again. Thank you very much.
you are welcome. Now then, so, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and say that to go along with how long it's been since the last we actually sat down to play, and given that there's a pretty impressive distance separating Endlum from other locations, it's been about 2 in-universe weeks before we get to today's session. Before that, though, is there at any point during those 2 weeks anything you want to try and do while you're still sort of detained in the castle?
I think at that point Thanatos is probably just going to be clawing at the walls to get me the fuck out of here.
All right.
He would be so bored.
All right. Well, when you have rudimentary entertainment stuff, you know, like chessboards and cards.
Yeah, but they won't. Yeah, but he's stuck there. Nobody to fight.
Also,
Friggin'
chessboard in a room where we're locked by ourselves.
No,
can
it's
play
not
chess.
always about the fighting, but I do see your point.
Well, at any rate, doesn't sound like you guys have much you want to try and accomplish while detained, so we'll go
Give
ahead
us
and
our
move forward.
bird back and let us go.
Well,
Besides, juvenile court must be brought down.
well, anyways, so yeah, as I said, it's about 2 weeks into your stay. Late morning, roundabouts. You've all been awake for a little while. Through the windows on each of your rooms, kind of reinforced windows, you can look out and see that it's kind of a muggy-looking day out there, kind of overcast, chilly. You are pretty high up in the mountains, so and while winter has started to taper off and is slowly starting to transition into spring at this point, and we've had a while. We've had a good few months in universe, so the seasons are shifting gradually. It's still cold as hell, and as high up in the mountains as you are, there's still you occasionally see the little stray sort of snowflake drift by, hit against your window, and then immediately melt. Like, temperatures are high enough at this point that the snow is not sticking. But anyways, let's see here. We shall begin with, let's see. We shall begin with Thanatos.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, Thanatos, you are presently leaning against the wall, as you mentioned, just staring out a window, waiting rather impatiently for all this shit to just be done, when you hear a on your door. And then it swings open, and a guard steps in. Philip wants to see you and yours. Get ready to head out.
Finally.
Steps back. The guard then moves on to Alistair's room. Same deal. Knocks, opens it up, informs you that Philip wants to see you all.
Be right there.
And then moves over to Nee. Same deal.
About time. Yeah, please give someone a chest.
You are cutting in and out something fierce and
Yeah.
very robotic.
Oh dear. Nee has become a machine.
Turns out Neotho was a cyborg all along.
Quick, protect Nee. She's weak to. Oh shit, she's weak to lightning.
Oh, shit.
Oh no. Don't stab yourself. Whatever you do.
Was that Tom?
Anyway, I have all that lightning down.
Okay, he's still doing it.
I still cannot make out a word he's saying now.
We've heard was lightning dagger.
We haven't done that yet. Hush.
One moment.
Sorry, he just said it. That's all I could understand from it.
Well, internet issues. Great.
We are so sorry for the inconvenience.
This was
This-
not
this
part
is
of the
what
plan.
hap-
This was not part
This
of the
is what-
plan, I swear.
This is what happens when we take off for weeks at a time. We come back and all of our equipment is shit.
I mean, my shit's fine. It's Tom that's having trouble.
For once, mine's pretty okay, except for my bloody character sheet.
Well, we
but now
fixed
it's
that.
fixed.
We fixed that because I spent 30 minutes painstakingly copying your shit over. Right,
Well, let's see if this works. Can you hear me? Am I
Yes!
a robot?
Yes, now.
I literally turned my internet off and on again.
Yes, we can make out what you're saying now. Okay,
Lovely.
No.
resuming the
Always
game.
work.
What were you saying? Jesus H.
He
Christ.
said, I'm not going to do the voice again. Nee just said, it's about time, and usually when you give someone a chessboard, you're meant to have someone to play it with. Just continue with that, for fuck's sake.
Right. The guard kind of tilts his head at you and says, well, I mean, you could have asked to go to the room of one of the others and you could have played. There was nothing stopping you from asking for that.
Can we just assume that I did during this whole thing, rather than deliberately making my character out to be an idiot?
Sure, I'll allow it.
What? We can't all
He
have
allows
our.
it.
We can't all have our idiot moments, Tom.
Needs had her idiot moments, but that's just blatantly the DM being an ass.
I mean, I've stated multiple times already. You guys could leave your rooms as long as you had a guard.
Well,
there
I
to keep
didn't hear that because I was having technical troubles.
I said that last week or last session,
And,
I
you,
don't
and that
remember
was like
that.
what, 3
That was-
weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
and I've emphasized it in
And you
between.
claim
I'm
his
pretty sure.
memory was
Oh my,
bad.
oh my
I'll just move the fuck on.
Okay.
let's get out of here.
Let's get on with it.
All right. So the guard then turns to his buddy. All right, go get the bird. He nods and shuffles off.
Go get the bird.
And I do not remember what voice I gave to Philip, and I forgot to look at last session to refresh my memory of his voice, so I'm just going to make up a new one. The guard leads you through the hallways again, and before long you're being ushered into the office of Philip. And before we get to that, let's cut over to Rocket and get her up to speed.
Okay.
At about this point, what would you say Rocket is currently doing in the room? Just waiting around, resting, or doing anything in particular?
Well, she hasn't been able to do much, so she just kind of takes a nap most of the time.
All right. So you're curled up, resting on the ground, and your eyes sort of snap open when you hear the door, jangling as someone's fiddling with it, and then it opens up. Guard steps in. Hey, Philip wants to see you. Come on.
Okay. And then I get up.
All right, and
And go with him.
he leads the way, and you wind up being ushered into Philip's office at a couple seconds after everyone else, so everyone is together in the same place again. And Philip is, at present, behind his desk, kind of looking over a few letters that he has sprawled out in front of him, scratching at his chin. Looks up at you. Well, you all certainly weren't kidding about the reputation. He holds up one letter. This here comes from Laren Kane over in Marasu. Practically glowing accolades. If it were possible to give a standing ovation in written form, this would be it. Sets it down. Shuffles through a few others. So, yes, at this point, given the accounts of the other people you've seen, I am inclined to believe your word at this point. It still doesn't necessarily change the fact that Rocket's augmentations are very much illegal, so I will request that you proceed with utmost caution when in the city and in Linsolem's limits in general.
Very well. We do
So, now as it stands, he pulls open a drawer, reaches into his desk and pulls it out and passes a certificate to you guys, or a slip of paper, and when you look at it, it's basically a single-page legal document that indicates that Rocket has been given a pass to move about unobstructed by the law within reason. Like, she's being given a pass for her augmentation, so he informs you, now then, you'll want to keep that with you as long as you're within Linsolem's borders. If you get stopped at any point by any soldiers under our banner asking about Rocket's modifications, show them that and the seal accompanying it, and they should, as long as they're on the up and up, let you through.
No problem. We keep this safe.
And if they're not on the up and up?
Well, then you have my permission to kick their asses and show them what's what.
Seems
That's
fair.
one way to put it.
I don't tolerate dissension or corruption in my ranks, and wherever it's found, I want it dealt with swiftly. Now then, he leans back in his seat, and fixes you all with a firm look. I imagine you're all rather curious about what's happened to Sid.
Yes. So what happened?
Well, he's been given he's been given his pass as well. And his pass was granted to him a couple days ago. We were still waiting on one last reply before we could finalize your guys' case. And as it is, since then, Sid has been working rather tirelessly on that device you gave him. That Magitech communicator, was it?
Yep.
As it is, he's been making use of one of his personal workshops. He has a couple that he has an investment of sorts in, down in the factory districts of the city. You could probably go to him if you want an update on that situation. All things considered, I am rather interested in keeping an eye on this situation. So, here's the deal. He leans forward again, his fingers interlocking together. You're free to go about Endlum. You're free to go about Solemn, so long as you keep that documentation with you. If DV Corp is who you're after, keep me posted. And if you do find them, exactly where they're located, notify
We'll let
me,
you know.
and maybe I can do something to help. But in the meantime, I can't go scrambling my resources on a possible location. I need something concrete. There have been too many false alarms so far as it is.
Do not worry. As soon as we find out where they actually are, we'll let you know. You will be the first.
What about that prisoner we brought with us?
Nabat?
Oh, yes.
She was
What is her fate?
She was brought before the board, tried, convicted, and is currently in the dungeons, serving her sentence.
We could try
How
to
long's
get the
the sentence?
location out of her.
You could try. I don't know if she would talk, though. She's resilient,
She
that
doesn't
one.
seem like the one. She doesn't seem like the one that would just tell us where it is.
How long did she get?
Long time. Very rarely have, well, as it stands, we don't have anything pinning her for any violent crimes. And while we know that they've no doubt happened, we can't have her sentence be based off of things without evidence. So as it stands, she's currently sitting at approximately 15 years.
Mm.
That's a pretty long time.
That's a slap on the wrist of what she should get.
She's been remarkably cooperative so far, even if she hasn't revealed basically anything about her organization. Just about any other question, though, she's answered without hesitation. I think she's just resigned to her fate at this point. And keep that up, maybe there's a chance she can be rehabilitated.
Mm.
Well, even with or without her help, we'll find out where they are anyway.
Guess our
It's
only
only a matter
lead
of
is
time.
that. Guess our only lead is that communicator. Hopefully, Sid can find a way to track the signal.
Well, they
Hmm.
said it was in a forest.
They said they had a general idea, but a forest is still pretty big.
Yes, and plus there's probably multiple forests around this place.
Ah,
So
shit, I forgot
that's
to move your
not
guys
the
to the world map.
Yeah, I just thought we're just chilling in the title screen.
Wah, wah, wah.
That's okay.
As it is, you guys do know that DV Corp's headquarters is located somewhere in the Suto Forest. You just have no idea where, and that is a very sizable area to cover.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Well
Our
then,
best bet is to just hope that Sid gets that communicator working and we can find some way to track him.
And as long as they don't track us, I think we'd be alright.
well then, you'd best be on your way. We've kept you here for too long already, and I'd rather not hold you here any longer on the grounds that there's room for a diplomatic incident if your superiors catch wind of it and take it the wrong way, Miss Athil.
Besides, we've probably got a lot of things to do.
Indeed.
We always.
So, he stands up. Allow me to show you to the trolley system. We have as I'm sure you remember, we have a series of trams and trains that take people all throughout the city. We have one that can take you down to the residential and common areas outside the castle so that you can get a move on. Follow me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Steps out of the office and leads you through the halls. Before long, you're stepping out into a sort of a larger chamber, one of the ones where that you recognize as being of a pretty much similar design to the one that you had arrived in on your little cart, your suspended cable car. And there's another one there. He points over to it. That one there should do the trick. Transportation is by and large free, so go on then. And good luck. He nods and turns around and leaves you to your own devices.
Hmm.
What are you doing, people?
Well, I was probably going to have a look around the place.
Around the room you're in?
Hmm.
Well, the room you're in is, it's large. It definitely is sizable. High ceiling. Well, a large part of it is this sort of open floor space with a few doors along the wall to your left and a door behind you and directly across from you in this sort of large space. Off to the right, it immediately cuts off in this sort of balcony. A guardrail extends all along that. There's a gap in that where the cable car is parked. And you can see there's this sort of open-closing, kind of like blast door style exit for the cable car to go through. That's currently sitting wide open and giving you a sort of a large, albeit hazy view of the city itself from here.
Hmm. Quite a nice view.
Mm-hmm.
Now then, should we go and find out if anyone knows more about Deviant Corp or even has a good guess of where it is? Or should we
Well-
just take on random assignments just to amuse you, Thanatos?
Well, let's go check in with Sid first, see how that's going.
Hmm. Good idea.
So I guess, do we ask around, like, to find him, or like,
Always in a specific
I suppose I
location.
should have mentioned, I forgot it a second ago, but Philip does give you the name of the location of the specific workshop Sid's currently in.
Okay.
Gaston Manufactory.
okay.
To
So-
Gaston's manufactory, then.
Sure.
All right. You making use of the cable car?
Mm-hmm. Might as well.
Might as well.
All right.
Covers
You hop on board. There are a couple other people who are keeping to themselves, and after a moment, the door slides closed, and the cable car pulls into motion. You see the great city of Endlum sprawling up before you as you slip out of the castle, and the cable car takes you down and down and down, and eventually you pass into the buildings themselves, like between them. And after a few minutes of riding along and getting to look at the streets themselves, which are, despite the fact this is a very technologically advanced city, the region that you are parking in looks remarkably more tame and low-tech in comparison. Like, it's still very advanced compared to the other kingdoms, but it's not, you're not like seeing metal walls all over the place. These buildings are made out of very well reinforced brick with only some metallic reinforcement. The stones are the streets are very nice paved stone in the sort of mesmerizing pseudo circle pattern. You got street lamps peppered throughout at even intervals. It's very nice, very pleasant to look at. And eventually, the cable car you're on comes to a stop at a station, and the doors swing open. And
Gotta admit, it's a fun way to travel.
Nice way to see the two.
now, I would have made a map of Endlum, but I couldn't find a way to do it that looked good, while also retained the shape that I wanted for the city. So I am not going to do that. So you're gonna have to just use your imaginations for this. Sorry.
That's alright.
But as it is, you you have emerged into the one of many cable car stations in the Market District, and the layout of Endlum is it's divided into three main districts: the Castle District, which you just left, the Market District, which you're currently in, and the Industry District, which is where you're going. So you step out of the station, and there are a lot of people all over the place. It's bustling with activity, people going about their business. The sound of chatter is high in the air as everyone's going around. Every now and then you'll see a smaller personal airship go flying by overhead, or a cable car goes zipping by. Very active, very alive, and there are just shops and shops, essentially, where you are right now. This is definitely the market. There's a lot of business going on here, all over the place. What are you doing, guys? Gage here.
Well, I guess let's go find Sid.
Yeah.
Before we do that, I, for one, think it's high time that we hit some of the shops. One, Alistair needs a staff, and I think I need to replace my old dagger here. Getting
Fair enough. Let's say, Alice, you are in need of her upgrade, Alistair.
I am aware. The staff has served its purpose and now needs something more efficient.
He needs a better poking stick.
A better poking stick.
All right.
Call it as you will.
All right. Well,
Leave that-
let's go find you guys some new equipment.
Just find me a blacksmith.
Then we find you a blacksmith, and I guess a major. Where do you go to get a new staff?
You would go to the weapon shop for both of these things.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
And depending how much it costs, I might actually get myself some more resilient armor.
I
Yeah,
mean,
let's start with the staff.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
already.
that's it.
You already
That-
have armor.
I'm doing that. I'm just saying if. It depends upon how much the staff costs. I still got my shield if I don't get any armor.
Yeah.
So we won't know unless we're there, unless you want to argue about it some more.
all right.
Yes, we go.
All right. So, you look around for a bit, you do some asking around, and it doesn't take you long to locate a local weapon shop. Kind of this nice sort of open sort of exterior environment. Like, it's pretty much set into the side of another building with, like, the front wall, like, gone so that you can actually see inside. It's still got, all the rest of the walls and roof, but it's kind of like a house without walls, essentially, except only one of the walls has been removed. You see the front counter, and you see a forge in the back, and a guy hammering away on things, and another guy at the counter, a pneumo, actually, kind of standing there, tapping his meaty fingers on the counter, perks up a bit and smiles as you wander in. Oh, hello. What can I do for you?
Nee needs a new dagger, and I need a new staff. Do you have any of these in stock?
Which one is Nee?
Yeah, you want to introduce yourself?
That would be me.
Ah, okay. What type of daggers were you hoping for?
Stabby ones.
I'll be back in a
I
moment.
think she's a little bit blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He shuffles off to one side, and a moment later, sort of comes back with
Efficient
a.
one.
He sort of comes back with a long case held in his arms. He sets it down on the counter, and pulls it open, and you see there's like an array of knives and daggers, kind of stored neatly inside. And he starts pointing them out to you. This one here deals, it inflicts lightning damage at the same time. Very useful, conducts electricity. This one is serrated, makes whatever you stab bleed really well. This one's just really, really sharp. This one... Picks it up. Frederick, why is this knife in here? It's broken. I don't know. And he drops it under the counter. Sorry, that one's no good. But we have an assortment.
I
Choose
see
your
that.
dagger.
Lightning, you say on that one. That's magic, I'd gather.
Yep.
I don't usually see metal doing lightning.
Indeed. He picks it up and shows you. There's this rune right here, see? And that creates a very low-level thunder spell with every application of the blade to flesh. So, one moment. He wanders off, comes back a second later with an apple in his hand. Now, this isn't a living thing anymore, but it is organic matter, and so... He then pokes it with the dagger and lets go of the apple, and you see it start to, like... just like lightly sparking and crackling with a small amount of electricity, and it's starting to like shrivel up and smoke. He quickly pulls the apple off.
Seems
See?
very effective.
And it fits the theme. How much?
700 gil.
He
Can't
takes.
argue with that.
What do you do if I just suddenly turn around and say, I take the serrated blade instead of the one we've arranged before?
I mean, all of these cost 700 gil, man. They're all tier 2, except for the broken one. That one was fucking tier 0.
Do you need to borrow more gil again?
What's
How
the
much
broken
skill do
one?
you
A jab
have
at a
left?
certain player in this chat who tried to make a broken thing.
Yeah. You probably doesn't
Thank
remember
you.
it because he was half asleep at the time.
You suddenly
Nope.
lost.
I reminded myself.
Anyway, alright, I'll take the awesome Stormy Lightning Dagger.
Alrighty then.
Stormy lightning.
He requires the gil, and you are now in possession of a thunder dagger.
I think I'll call it Storm for short.
That sounds lovely.
Hmm.
And you, he turns to Alistair, you were wanting a new staff?
Yes, one is more efficient and can do more damage. Would you have anything like that?
Perhaps. Staves aren't necessarily our specialty, but we do make a few things. One moment. He goes back towards some of the back racks where a lot of weapons are on display, like swords, axes, halberds, all kinds of shit. And he comes back a second later with a staff that has a slightly more your staff has this kind of curvy design where like it's very elegant and kind of bulbous at the top. The one he's showing you now it's a bit less elegant looking, but it's a bit more uniform. The edges at the top where like your spells will come out of are more straight and rigid. It's made of a slightly darker but at the same time shinier metal. And when he pans it to you for you to test it out, it weighs a bit more in your hand, so you get the feeling it would do more damage. And you notice a faintly glowing blue gem in the top piece.
No. Pretty nice.
The
but
gem there is an arcane amplifier. It makes it so that
Really?
if you're using magic, I assume you're a spellcaster of some description, given your use of a spellcasting staff as a primary weapon.
I have heard of these amplifying crystals before, but I never thought I'd get to use one.
Yeah,
How much is it though?
700 gil for this.
It's a deal. I like it.
All right. And you pass him the gil, and you now have a tier 2 staff that also happens to grant you a +2 to your mind stat. So for the sake of ease of use, just go ahead and put in parentheses next to your mind stat whatever to your current mind is 11, right?
Yeah.
Then go ahead and put in parentheses next to it either +2 or 13, whichever you prefer.
Okay, I put 13. I mean, it is basically that now.
Yep. So that way we have your original number easily there for reference, but we also have your new number there for reference without having to override either of them. It just makes things easier whenever you remove that piece of equipment.
And save, and it looks like I got plenty for some armor.
Indeed. So, because that is a tier 2 weapon, the damage on it now increases.
Nice.
What did I have written down there on your original arcane staff?
My original arcane staff was 10 plus 2d6.
Well, now it should be 26 plus 2d6.
I really like this.
Because it's mind times 2, but your mind had just got an increase. So the number is higher.
26.
Yep.
Ooh.
26 plus 2d6.
Done. And saved again. Now, where would we find armor? Just curious.
You'd want to go to the armor or general shops, I would imagine.
Very well.
You're
Pleasure
on-
to meet you both. And thanks for the new staff.
You're welcome. You hear the guy in the back, previously identified as Shredder, going, yeah. He just keeps hammering away. Ding, 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 on whatever he's working on.
So, do the rest of you want to come to the army, or you got your own little thing to do?
Loving the player engagement this session, you guys.
I think they all left.
I'm still here.
No, they're all still here.
This is weird because Tom's usually the one that kind of leads us.
Yeah, but he's kind of being
Yeah.
quiet this
But he's-
time.
But yeah.
Yeah, if you look in the Discord chat, I said why.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, we know.
and
Okay, so
I'm the
Alright.
one that usually stays quiet and just wait till it progresses.
all right.
So is Lumina.
So-
Rocket just observes all the time.
So yes. So yes, new dagger, new staff. I think we're good. Let's go find Sid and see if he can get us to Deviant Corp.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Guess skipping the armor, Shane.
Indeed.
You don't need armor. You have a shield.
Yeah, it's not as special as having a little bit of armor.
Right.
The more armor, the better.
All right, well, you set out from the weapon shop there. You maneuver your way through the streets for a little bit, and eventually you pass from the market district and into the industry district. And the environment around you there is significantly different. Very quickly, the more homely architecture kind of blends and fades into more, well, as the name suggests, industrial architecture. Even on the housing units that you pass, it becomes far more uniform and rigid, and it goes from being like really nice Renaissance steampunk to just straight steampunk. You look around for a little while. It's kind of a hectic maze of streets, this area, between like the towering factories with their plumes of smoke, making it kind of hard to see where you're going all the time, since none of them act as landmarks because they all look the same. But eventually, after some asking around and a bit more looking around, you eventually come to Gaston Manufactory. It's looks to be a 3-story building, kind of mostly made out of like big stone bricks. It's got some pipes working around on the outside. You can hear steam and other things moving through those pipes, creating this sort of low ambient hum. There are these big paned windows against the front wall, through which you can see what looks to be a small assembly line and a lot of storage crates, but the windows are kind of stained from like some of the smog of the other factories that surround you, so it's kind of murky, kind of hazy, kind of hard to make out the finer details. And yeah, that is the manufactory.
You think if someone left their glasses outside, they could sell them as sunglasses?
Oh, that was a little quip.
Well, let's go in and see if we can.
All right, so heading inside, I guess.
Yeah,
Sure.
let's get this over with.
You step into the manufactory, and almost as soon as you pass through the front doors, your senses are overwhelmed by a series of things. A very thick, oily smell, as well as like the smell of sparks and fire and smoke and coal. And grease. Very, very much the stench of a factory. Your ears are assaulted by the previously muffled sounds of the assembly line as it's working. It looks like it's assembling smaller parts that could be used in the modular assembly of airships if you had to crack a guess, but what each individual modular piece functions as, you couldn't even begin to guess. And most of that manufacturing line stuff is towards the back. And of course, there's also a front counter, very long, with a few receptionists there. You get the feeling that like sometimes this place gets large floods of traffic with people wanting to commission things from the manufactory. But right now it seems to be a bit of a lull. There's only one other person, a Mithra specifically, at one of the counters talking with the receptionist. And you have 2 other receptionists to work with. A Galka and a human.
Personally, a little out of character. We've had bad we had a bad encounter with the Galka, so I think I'm going to be more inclined to the human.
Fair
That's
enough.
racist.
That is, but it's somewhat understandable at the same time.
I mean,
And
Alice here
there's
just
the
nearly got
racism.
squashed by one.
True. But don't judge a book by the cover. Or in
Sure.
this case, don't judge them all because one tried to kill me.
Yeah. All right, I'm going. All right.
All right.
We walk up to the human receptionist.
All right. Looks to be it's a woman. She looks up as you approach. Yes, can I help you?
Hi there. We're looking for Sid.
Do you have an appointment?
Yes, one that's 2 weeks overdue.
She looks down at a book she has on the table, raises an eyebrow. What are your names?
Thanatos.
And I'm Anasaya.
Okay.
Let's say this is Alistair, Rocket, and Nee. He knows us.
Her eyes lock onto Rocket, and for a second she looks alarmed, but then sort of slowly relaxes and says, Oh, I think he's awaiting you, actually. She sort of quickly stands up, dusts herself off, walks over and sort of lifts this sort of like a bar type thing that prevents people from just instantly walking behind the counter and says, follow me, please.
Sure thing.
Okay.
The Mithra person behind the counter always away kind of gives you a stink eye as you... They're like, they get ahead of me so quickly, god damn it. But you're led past the counter and deeper into the manufactory, and the sound of the assembly line gets louder and louder as you step deeper inside. The woman doesn't really spare that a glance, doesn't even really seem to care about it. She immediately hooks a left as you enter out into the wider assembly floor, takes you along a sort of a side path before up a flight of stairs and through a door which leads into a longer hallway with doors scattered across, most of them kind of reinforced wood with metal, and leads you towards one towards the very back. She opens it up and steps aside and sort of bows a little bit. He's in here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She closes the door behind you. And you find yourself in a spacious workshop of sorts, sort of a dimly lit. There's this sort of... There's a light overhead. It's not the best at sort of chasing away the darkness in the room, but it's not like super duper gloomy. It's just like the corners of the room are poorly lit. There's a large table in the center with a lot of scraps and Magitech bits and bobs, among which you recognize the communication device you showed to Sid back in Animo. Partially disassembled, and you see there are also some wooden tables scattered around the edges of the room with notes and stacks of papers and schematics pinned up to the walls, a few other lamps currently not lit on each table. And you see Sid himself, sort of, he's at the table over the communication device, scratching his head and sort of grumbling to himself in irritation. Dang thing. Why'd they have to be so careful, huh?
I take it it's not going well?
Oh, you're here. Oh, that's good to know. You weren't given too much trouble by Philip, were you?
No, we just got trapped in a castle for 2 weeks.
Well, I was only a few days before you, so I know the feeling. He dusts himself off a bit and says, in answer to your question, though, it's not going quite as well as I had hoped. He gestures to a few chairs he has scattered around the room. If you want to sit, feel free. You're my guests here.
Thanks.
And he points to the communicator. Anyways, this fucking thing. I'd hoped it would be a simple matter of figuring out, the signal direction and nailing down a location, but it seems DeviaCorp are, well, for lack of a better term, rather devious and thought around that.
Well, shit.
As it is, the signal I'm able to replicate from this thing isn't strong enough on its own. The signal would have to be returned both ways, and I get the feeling the higher-ups back at DeviaCorp's headquarters must have figured out that this communicator is compromised because there is no return signal. The signal only goes about halfway. Without that other half, I can't pinpoint a location.
Hmm.
Sounds like we may need a way to amplify it.
Yes, that was the thought. And there are a few possible ways we could get around this, but all of them require finding something to work with. The first way that I can think of is finding another communicator, same model, same design, and putting their transceivers together, essentially the devices that let them communicate with the DeviantCorp headquarters. Put those devices together and you essentially double the reach of the signal because they feed off each other and double the collective power. The only problem with that is finding one. DeviantCorp is a very secretive organization and I have no idea where we'd even begin finding anything like that. I can't replicate them, I don't have the tools or resources available, or the know-how. This shit is really complicated.
I think the only way we're going to find another one if we find another one who is important to Deviant Core, higher up.
Potentially. Another solution could be to try and find some way to trick DeviantCorp into returning the signal. Into reopening communications with this device, but I don't think there's really any feasible way we can successfully do that.
Hmm.
Yeah, they probably might have found counter means for that.
Nabat's probably not going to help us.
Definitely not. She's stubborn as hell.
Ain't that the truth?
Let's see.
Open to suggestions, though.
Well, we have no idea where we could find another agent of DeviantCorp. And we have, and our only lead into the organization is as quiet as a rock. I doubt even if we did try to get something out of her, she would still not say anything. So,
do you know anywhere we could find where you think Deviant Corp would like to go?
It's hard to make any guesses as to where they'll operate next. Near as I can tell, you've completely dismantled the operation they were doing up in Lapinia, so we can't rely on trying to get any more of their communicators from that.
but DeviantCorp is said to be somewhere here in Linsalem, right?
They're somewhere in this country's borders, yes.
So
We don't know where exactly. I know they're south of here, but that's not exactly hard to deduce, where as north as you can get in our borders.
But if we could find them, maybe we might be able to find what we're looking for.
Well, I mean,
if we head down south, maybe we can find. Does anybody live down south?
Well, there are plenty of settlements. There's the larger city of Turno. We have Costa del Terra and Costa del Sol along the labor and luxury coast. Costa del Sol being a resort of sorts, and Costa del Terra being a fishing and mining settlement. We have a few other smaller settlements scattered around. We have the Dami checkpoint, about as far south as you can get. That sort of bridges the gap between us and Volia.
Maybe further the better.
DeviantCorp seems to be a group made of quite. If Nabat's anything to go off of, they're an individual. Sorry, I can't speak. They're individuals that seem to think quite highly of themselves. Perhaps this resort you told me that you spoke of.
Costa del Sol.
Maybe we can start there. A nice big resort, lots of people with money and connections, bound to find something.
It's worth a try than do nothing.
Suppose
Better
it
than
is.
sitting around here.
I suppose that is true. More than that, Costa del Sol does actually have an airship dry dock, so if we're lucky, I could actually give you a lift there. Besides, if you were able to find another device, you'd need me to extract the chip and get it working anyways.
True.
So, It sounds like we have a plan.
I suppose we
Well,
do.
it's about the best we can do so far without really knowing where we're going.
But it's a start.
Anything else we need to know about this Costa del Sol?
Well, it's really hot. Like, it's borderline
Oh, boy.
tropical.
Sure.
You think you'd be able to handle that rocket?
We go straight from cold ass mountain to tropical resort.
Well, you've got a lengthy forest to go through first, the pointing forest.
That's a good point. What kind of wildlife is usually up there?
Please tell me you don't have grunweeds.
Or a high snoggering?
We don't have grunweeds, at least not nearly in as large a population as you might find up north in Lapinia. We have more standard bestial fare, things like hedgehogs and the like. Beast creatures.
Thank God.
This place
Yeah.
seems like an actual place to just kick back and relax.
Well,
That's nice.
that is the point of Costa del Sol. It is essentially a vacation spot.
It's going to be a bit unusual for us, but nice and easy.
Heading over there, it wouldn't be so bad just to have a little bit of fun while we work.
I mean, hey, it's up to you.
Okay.
It's a nice resort.
Anything that doesn't involve hitting a thing, you get bored, Thanatos.
That's the thing.
Well, just think, resorts always have the best drinks.
Oh, here we go.
Comfortable luxury.
Thank
And
you.
just think, Need, of all those cute little dancers you get to watch.
I'm taken.
Anatos, you can have a little party once we accomplish the mission. Sorry, but no slacking off on the job.
Plus all the nobles, it'd be fun to punch one in the nose, see what happens.
We don't really have nobles in Linsalem. We don't have a typical. Our governmental structure isn't the same as in some of the other kingdoms. It's nothing like the neighboring Volia, for example. Volia has a traditional structure of a hierarchical. You have your king, your queen, your prince, and the noble families vying for power individually, albeit they're usually getting along fairly well. Here in Linsalem, we mostly just have the board and the director. The director usually having to take the word of all of the board members before he makes any final decisions, and each board member is appointed by individual board members and their assistants when it comes time for them to retire, and each one has to hail from a different region of the country. So, we have a representative from Costa del Terra, a representative from Del Sol and Turno, etc., etc.
And you have board members for your board members.
We have assistants who help with the smaller matters that aren't quite worthy of the director's immediate attention.
Oh, joy. Well, it's still, no matter where you go, there's always rich folk, and that's what these resorts are for.
That much is true.
Right. We are going on another mission, I guess.
Well, it seems part mission, part vacation, or it looks like.
Vacation or not, I am still going to get myself some armor. Better safe than sorry, I always say.
I doubt you'll find an armor in a resort, Alistair.
That's why I'm getting it before we go. Sorry, but better safe than sorry, man.
Not like we're going to stay there anyway. I doubt we could afford it for one thing.
I appreciate the company, but ever since I've been on this adventure, I've been munched to near death by a high snuggerin. I've also nearly died to an asshole with a freaking arcane weapon. And not to mention...
Forget the Eldritch Abomination.
I'm getting to that. There's the freaking Eldritch Abomination. There's also the plants who made me loopy-loopy, and the Guardian that made us loopy-loopy and almost killed us.
And don't forget the
Oh,
water.
And the water, and the guy that almost one-punched me to oblivion, then who knows what after that.
Well, no offense, Alistair, but you tend to throw yourself in front of everybody, so it's kind of your fault.
This is what I get
Well.
for choosing the path of a paladin.
You
I'm
people have lived
overprotective.
very interesting lives.
You have no idea.
Hmm. Yep.
Alright. Well, the
I'm
star-
surprised we're still all here.
We are all just a giant group of misfits.
It's kind of hard to live a normal life when you're talking chocobo, you know.
I mean,
That
and
is a
she's
very good
probably the
point.
more sane of all of us.
Yep.
It's so. Well, I think we all have things that make it hard to live a normal life. I mean, Thanatos is Thanatos, Alice. Well, Alice is the most normal, to be honest. And I've got my maybe mother who's slightly demonic. I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh.
She has mommy issues, so let's just give it at that.
Alright, I will take your word for it.
At least she doesn't have Athena issues.
We can talk about your girlfriend
I
another
have
time.
Mika issues.
Last time, not
Mika's better than-
ever going to happen. Friend, yes. Relationship, no. We both kill each other or go insane.
That's how it always starts.
Mika's still better.
That's how married people work.
Well,
I have to say, me,
I'm not
I think
looking
you're a
for
little
that kind of
biased in that
relationship.
opinion, but too old.
Of course, I'm biased. Wouldn't be that
besides,
a
in
lot.
my line of work, I most likely would die of overprotection of someone.
Sid's just laughing his ass off at this point.
You know, if this whole adventure thing doesn't work, we can freaking get jobs as entertainment. Apparently,
I'm sorry, it's just your banter is delightful. It's good to see friends interacting like that.
well, if it wasn't for our banter, we'd probably all drive each other insane.
We don't do
We
that
already
anyway.
do. What are you talking about?
Yes, especially with some of the interesting comments you brought up.
Uh huh. Yeah, between me and the little elf here who and her cat girl.
Hey, what about your little girlfriend? Remember? Whip girl. She says something about you that you like women with whips.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, please. You can't deny it.
I admired her skill, and she did get us out of.
Is that what they call it nowadays?
Are you
She
sure
helped
it's
us.
not just her skill, you and Maya?
She helped us in a jam, and she shared her reward. She didn't have to do that.
Whatever.
There's a lot of innuendo I could infer from that statement.
I'm sure one day you'd be smitten.
You see, I hope none of you ever get spied on, because with how much you yap at each other, there's a very good chance you could let slip very important information.
You know, if we ever do get spied on, I mean, it doesn't matter. We get caught or we fuck up anytime, even without spies.
The spy
Yes.
would learn that we have relationship issues. Good for
We have
them.
a lot of issues.
Yeah.
The only one here who doesn't really have issues is bloody Alice here.
Alright, well. The Stargazer is pretty much ready to go whenever, if you guys want to set up for Costa del Sol.
Sure.
All
Just
right.
give me a moment. Whoa. Where is... Right.
Well, might as well see if I can send Mika a postcard over there that would let her know that we're not in prison anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like she's not already bashing the doors of the castle saying, "Release my elf!"
Oh, dear.
Or worse, we have your sisters show up with crossbows in hand going, "Where is our little sister?"
Hey, it's a free.
I mean, you joke about that, but they would 100% do that.
Well, then we can finally get to meet him. I've loved
Right.
it.
Nearest blacksmith.
So let's go get Mr. I Need Armor here, some armor so he doesn't frickin' die on us again.
But I'm sorry if I can't absorb shadow damage like you, Thanatos. I'm just looking for armor that can be a bit more resilient.
Well, that's your all's problem.
Okay, so, Alistair, I need to actually point out, the current armor
I
you're
guess
wearing,
so.
the current armor you're wearing is tier 2.
Is it? Oh, I never got to my armor upgraded. Just the shield.
I think so, because when I looked at it, it said +4/+4. Oh wait, no, that is tier 1. Okay, so yeah, you can get tier 2
Yeah.
armor. The problem then is you have to pick a property, and holy shit, that is an ordeal with you.
Just
So-
give me the one that's the most efficient and basically more useful.
Okay, here's
That is
an idea.
that is very subjective.
All right, here's
He's
an
ask-
idea.
He's asking you just choosing one for him.
Here's an
Mhm.
idea. Let us just say we got it. Subtract the gil from his total, and then you and him can butt heads about it after the session.
That works.
Yep.
All right, so at the very least, tell me what particular weight of armor do you want? Do you want light, medium, or heavy? I mean, I'm pretty sure paladins can use any of those. Let me double check.
True, but I
Yeah,
think
they can use any of them.
medium's a nice balance, in my opinion. Heavy
Alright.
armor's more Thanatos' thing.
All right, then under your armor armor and magic armor scores will go up from 4 to 8, meaning that your total armor score, if you'll give me a second to pull up my copy of your character sheet here, your totals should go up from the 8/8 they were at to something more along the lines of 12/12, I believe. Yeah, 12/12.
Because
So your armor and
Because of the
magic
shield?
armor, yeah, your shield and previous armor together gave you 8 total, and now your armor just got doubled because tier 2. So your total armor and magic armor scores are 12 and 12.
nice.
Yep.
That will do nicely.
And we can sort out the finer details of that at another time. But for now,
Mm-hmm.